Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for hopping in and joining us today. We definitely all appreciate you taking the time to hang out with us this morning as we share some important cybersecurity information with you all. My name is Zach. I'm on our marketing team here at High Touch. We're going to give everyone a minute to settle in and get going. And while we're there, we just want to see how is everyone's New Year's resolutions going. You should see a pop-up poll come your way. Yeah.
I don't feel bad for my suggestion. Just feel a little guilty.
Alrighty, it looks like we got a pretty mixed bag going on. So I'm going to hand over everything to Andrew and Jason here in a second. Just a couple of things to keep in mind as we're going through things in the next hour. There's a Q&A section, so please ask questions in there, and then we'll get those over to Andrew and Jason as we're working through the webinar. We'll also have some interactive polls throughout. So just like that New Year's resolution one, a way for you to interact, ask questions, and make this more fun than just sitting and listening for an hour. And then following the webinar, we'll send out copies of the recording to everyone and also share the slide deck. So with that, Andrew, I'm going to hand everything off to you.
Awesome. Thanks, Zach. So hello, everyone. I'm Andrew Kahn, the Director of Professional Services for High Touch Technologies. I've been with High Touch for 5 years. I have an IT background for about 20 years of experience, starting with consumer retail sales all the way up to enterprise infrastructure and networking. Then hand over to Jason next. Introduce himself.
Thanks, Andrew. Yeah, my name is Jason Finolio. I am the Director of Information Security for High Touch Technologies. I've been with High Touch for about 6 years, and I'm almost in my 30th year in IT. It's crazy it's been that long already. But I have worked in pretty much every aspect of the IT field and decided to move into the security realm because security is in almost everything. I also work with Georgia Tech on their incident response masterclass, in which I also hold a master's in science to cybersecurity through them.
Next poll we got going on is, what is your biggest cybersecurity concern for 2026? It's a multi-poll question, so you can select multiple. So if it's ransomware, compliance, social engineering attacks, cloud and SaaS exposure, you're unclear of your risk posture and you want to know more, or infrastructure gaps, just mark them in there and let us know.
The compliance heading up the field.
Yeah.
Ready, we'll close that up. Looks like you got a lot of compliance and social engineering to look at as we're going through this.
So one of the things that we understand is cybersecurity, it's a resilience issue. It's a big disruption to a lot of operations, just because if you get compromised, if a breach actually happens, incident goes through, business almost stops. And when that stops, users are not productive. They don't know what to do. Brand image becomes an issue. Just trust overall just becomes a problem for a lot of businesses. When we go through things and work with our clients, one of the biggest things that we try to make sure is that security is being taught to your employees. The main reason why is because you need to have a business that delivers a message that everyone needs to work together to strengthen your security posture as a business. The more educated someone is, the more willing they are to help and understand what their duty is to protect your business as well. When they're not trained or they don't understand, they won't understand how attacks are happening. They don't understand the security risks when they go to a coffee shop or they're working from home and connecting to the home network. A lot of home networks, they're not segregated. So what that means is like you bring your work computer home, and let's say if you have kids, so it's like I have kids. Their, game stations, their computers from school, they're all on the same network. If they're not segregated, the potential of sharing information from their systems to your system is highly likely. Same thing with Internet of Things devices like smart thermostats or anything like that. I mean, MGM, that's how one of the compromise happens. They went through an Internet of Things device, a smart thermostat for their fish tank. That's how they, bad actors got in and compromised the whole environment. Those are things that, we want to educate and have you understand. It's it's everyone's job to work through security. It's a part of their day, and educating them of the potential attacks, how attacks happen, will allow you to be more resilient, and we'll work through to be able to educate your users on the smart ways to, one, respond, and also, notify upper management IT that something is going on or something looks fishy. Even if it looks fishy, it's good to have them notify because you want to be able to educate the notifications on that. If you don't, then you're not building that security culture that you should have. And when you're a highly regulatory environment, so a lot of people comment on compliance as one of the biggest things. If you're highly compliant, they need to understand either it's HIPAA, PCI, NIST, CMMC, whatever those compliance standards are, how their job affects those compliance and how that could also affect your customers if you're not holding to those compliance standards. So documentation is a big thing. Make sure you know where things are documented, you clean that up, and you know where to direct people when they have questions.
Yeah, you kind of hit the head on the nail on the head. I consider security awareness training one of the paramount things that you can provide your end users because you want them to be part of your security team. So let's further the knowledge here. We're going to start off with our top cybersecurity trends of 2006 to 2026. 2006, that was 20 years ago. Let's go to 26. So let's start off with the buzzword that everybody's hearing about, AI. AI is definitely here to help. Of course, that's what everyone's heard. It does great things for you as far as the security field. AI is an amazing tool as far as implementing security. Whenever you implement it in a security operations center, it not only doesn't ask if that file is bad, it asks, does the behavior make sense for this user on this device right now? Humans and traditional tools relied on rules and signatures, whereas AI looks at behavior, not just files or known IPs. It correlates the activity across many different facets. Email, endpoints, cloud apps, identity systems. It detects subtle anomalies like logins at usual times, impossible travel, abnormal data downloads, and new processes behaving strangely. It finds low and slow attacks that a lot of attackers use to try to circumvent certain controls you have in place. And whenever you put AI in to help you look at your security, you get fewer misbreaches, earlier detection, less dependence on manual monitoring, and reduced alert fatigue. Wouldn't that be great to sleep at night? And of course, it gives you faster response to react to those attacks. And in cybersecurity, speed is everything. Faster response with AI can make the difference between seconds and hours, and that could be the difference between a minor incident to a major breach. Traditional response usually relies on someone noticing an alert, investigating and deciding what to do, and that could take hours or days. AI-driven platforms can isolate infected devices, disable compromised accounts, and block malicious domains. You can actually black hole the communication methods that attackers are using to pull data out. And it can also disable compromised accounts. Basically, what AI is doing is delivering that first major punch to the attack chain. So when we talk about AI for security, the attackers are using AI as well. It's gone from handcrafted to mass-produced. AI facilitates scalable assembly line for malicious activity. Attackers, they use manual. They used to use manual phishing emails, and now AI can just generate based on the data that it can pull from a compromised account. It can look through the entire mailbox and learn how you're talking with certain clients, and an attacker can change their approach and go after financial data, change routing numbers to facilitate spending or the client giving money to the wrong company. So it's good to have some way of with AI to detect if those individuals are reading those messages and being able to react fast enough to stop this. An impersonation is a huge it's a huge attack vector now. And we'll get to that on the next slide, but AI can replicate voices, writing styles, and even video. If it looks like your boss and sounds like your boss, emails like your boss, it might still not be your boss. They can, detect certain ways that your leadership or financial people speak, and coerce you to make decisions that may not make sense depending on the tone of the approach. One thing that you can do, this is a quick tidbit, but you can get a policy going with your senior executives or financial staff to create like a protocol that is out of band for any sort of financial determination or information dissemination. Having a quarterly code word that you can just change on a regular basis, so they can say that word if they really need a financial transaction done quickly. It would be out of the digital realm and help be a second or even third factor to make the decision.
Yeah, when you
So
bring that up too, Jason, one of the things I think about, like in our household, we do have a family passphrase because we saw on like the news where a grandfather or grandmother was being swindled out of paying for their kid or their grandkid because they were caught in jail or something like that. The kid daughter was fine, nothing was in it, but they copied their messaging, their behavior, their tone, and utilized that to basically ransom the grandparent to send money. But it wasn't them. So at home, we have a passphrase as a family, so we know, hey, is this the real or not? Because phone numbers can be easily spoofed. AI is taking those attacks to where they can mimic just about anybody. So
yeah, it's amazing what attackers can pull off open source intelligence, social media. People share a lot online, and without something that can be provided that you don't put out online, it could be a critical measure into stopping what you're discussing there. So let's go to number 2. I referred to this a little bit with impersonation. So deepfakes and social engineering. I don't know if you've looked at the new, I think that's the Google Veo and the Flow engines, but it's amazing what they can do with AI generated video, especially with just a picture or a series of pictures of a person. It can imitate pretty much anyone that they can put in place, and they can do it fairly inexpensive. But let's go into tools that people are using right now. AI browsers are the big thing. Your browser is no longer just a window to the internet. It's becoming the worker. AI browsers such as Comet, Edge actually has Copilot built in. It will go out and read specific pages. Let's go back yet.
Okay.
Sorry, I jumped ahead. We'll talk about that in a minute. So yes, it will copying voices and video styles. There's a message that often look perfect with no spelling errors, no obvious red flags, but realistic doesn't look legitimate. Impersonation attacks are designed to create urgency. So, you'll see the common pressure tactic. I need this done immediately. We're in a meeting, so I can't get on the phone with you. It's confidential. Don't bring anybody else in on this. It's a surprise for a party we're having later. With authority coming from an executive and urgency, gives you reduced critical thinking. So, attackers don't want you to think, they want you to react. And urgency is the enemy of security. Many modern attacks, they look internal, especially if a compromised account occurs. The messages look authentic because it comes from their mailbox, but rules are created in the background, and emails with correspondence to the target are hidden inside Outlook or Gmail or whatever email browser you're using. They can communicate without the person actually knowing, and they're in the mailbox of the victim. But technology alone can't stop impersonation. The emails are the final security layer, or the employees are the final security layer. Having effective training, basically employing the mantra that you pause before acting, verify out of band through another channel, question unusual requests, escalate concerns without fear. You want to breed that security culture that they're not going to be reprimanded for not questioning certain things. But security awareness turns employees from targets into knowledgeable defenders. It's always okay to pause, and it's never okay to rush into risk.
When you think about that, and as you bring that up, like some of the things businesses have, your employees, post on LinkedIn. They on LinkedIn they even say that you're working for X company. Attackers are looking at that to figure out where they're coming from, where they work, and if they've compromised, like if they know you work there, they figure out their phone number, because phone numbers, you can pay for a tool to get people's phone numbers through LinkedIn and stuff like that. It's very easy for those attackers to start texting your employees and saying, hey, this is the CEO. I need XYZ now, right? They'll create that urgency to have that employee spend. So some of the things that is even good for your company to train about is like, our CEO's phone number is this. If you get a phone number or a text request that's other than this, it's not coming from our CEO. Yes, some CEOs may not want their phone numbers out to their employees, but sometimes you kind of have to start doing that to be able to provide that training and that layer of trust so they know, hey, this is what this number is for, and if it's not from here, it's not real.
Yeah, and phone numbers are very difficult to put any sort of technical controls in place, and that's where security awareness training helps tremendously with your employees. So let's finally get into AI-powered browsers. You had a sneak preview before. So yeah, your browsers, they're starting to integrate more and more AI tools. Again, with Comet, Edge, Copilot. There's several others out there that are legitimate, but there's not a lot of controls in place within those AI browsers yet. They'll visit websites where people are using Reddit or different forums that will place code within that and inject prompts into the browser and can pull data out of the machine that it's on. And there's not a lot of guardrails in place just right off the bat, unless you have specific application tools to prevent that. I don't believe that they're quite there yet. So we do instruct our users to not utilize those tools yet until they've improved in maturity. The hidden instructions within those websites can have those AI powered browsers act for them and upload information to a different location. It's always good to act on instinct. If you're using a AI browser and you see something occur that's out of the ordinary, it's very important to work with your IT team to report anything that happens within the application. One thing that we talk about with AI is that with AI will just do what it's told. If you don't have guardrails in place, AI will confidently do the wrong thing very efficiently.
And I think the other side of the thing about this is, even from the browser perspective, AI is being pushed everywhere. I mean, you can't even do a Google search without AI giving you a suggestion as well. So being all that, I mean, they're trying to push AI anywhere they can, get the usage out, because it's the biggest thing right now. But just because it's there and available, you have to be careful on how to utilize it. Even the scenario where, attackers will utilize like sponsored ads and stuff like that to even put their fake link of the AI tool, because they can. It's sponsored. They're paying for it. So that's something.
Well, there's a lot of AI browsers out there that are using, they're potentially unwanted piggyback apps that apply themselves to that. Like the Shift browser is one that we see everywhere. OneStart.ai. It's able to pull in third-party tools that you may not want on your system. It could download malware in the background. So it's good to really talk with your AI team and determine what kind of tools can I use in the workplace, which kind of leads us up to our next poll here. Does your organization allow AI tools in the workplace?
Oh, yeah. Yes, you're formally approved. Unofficially, not yet. No. Unsure. And, unsure could be a lot, just because, like we said, AI is technically being used even when you do a Google search or anything like that. So AI tool, or even Grammarly has some AI functions of how they write, because they're trying to learn how you write to make sure it sounds more authentic to your writing pattern. So if you use Grammarly, but also Copilot, right? So Copilot, Microsoft has pushed that down to every single product and platform. All right, looks like we got a good mix. All right, remote and hybrid work security, non-negotiable. Now, the reason why we bring this up, as we talked about, is because home networks, when you're not segregated, or you can go to hotels, coffees, you're on whatever network's there. Devices could be open, essentially. You could inadvertently share your device information across the network. And if someone's compromised, they could share their compromised system across the network as well. So we know work happens everywhere. It's just the way the nature is. We're constantly on the go, and being constantly on the go doesn't mean that we need to put all the barriers down. We need to be very cautious still of how you do things. The perimeter is not there anymore for a lot of employees, just because they have no office to go to. So they have to work wherever they're available. But the other thing that the perimeter kind of moved away from was when mobile devices got introduced to be able to read emails and things like that. Like I myself, majority of the time, I'd say 70% of the time, interact with emails on my mobile device. One of the things that happens when I'm scrolling on my mobile phone, checking an email, if a link comes across, my finger could scroll and accidentally do a misclick. I could click on a link inadvertently from that email, and then if it had a unwanted application through that link, could be scouring through my phone. Those are things that, employees need to be aware of, need to be trained on, even yourself. Like when you're going through emails on any kind of mobile device, especially with you're using your finger, um, once you let go, you're already clicking the link. Compared to being on your computer, scrolling through a regular mouse, unless you have a touchscreen computer. Those are the things that need to be careful when you are working from home, or even any other network, especially if you're working at another network, VPN tools, something device to safeguard your system from that network. If you have a home network, if you buy a router from, actually most pretty good routers now allow you to create segregation from your home itself. Even the Cox wireless router or the AT&T wireless router gives you that capability to where you can separate your work computer from your home computers. So that way you have a clean area to where you know that you're not sharing information across those and they can't get to your system and you can't get to the system or files on the home network.
But and one thing to remember too for the hybrid work or remote work, say if you're at a Starbucks, someone could be using a Wi-Fi pineapple. Your device is going to connect to the strongest signal. So if somebody's transmitting, three people down from you, you're going to connect to their Starbucks guest, and if you see any sort of certificate errors or something just doesn't look right, just disconnect or make sure to pop on that VPN. You should always do that. So even if you did connect to that, at least your traffic is secured.
Yep. If you're not familiar with what Jason said about pineapple devices, there are bad actors out there that will create and copy a wireless network like at Starbucks hotel or something like that. It looks like their name, but it isn't them, their network. It's basically a spoof network that they're using to steal information. Most commonly used in airports just because there's so many networks in the airports between all the things they have there. But that is something to be careful and be cognizant of. If you have mobile hotspot on your cell phone, better safe to use that, even if you're usually using down mobile data. And the biggest thing, again, that we kind of broach the subject on is security awareness training is critical. Employees just need to have some type of security awareness training that's actually going to teach them what to look out for, not just go through and provide videos of here's what's new, here's what the general information about. They need to know, like, the good password, like how strong it needs to be, what type of passphrase to use. And then also, like we talked about, the AI deepfakes and stuff like that. There are videos that kind of teach you like what to look out for and how to spot a AI generated video. So if you don't have a security awareness training that does that kind of teaching, definitely get with us so we can look at what you have and probably help you with that. And then the next slide we have is about zero trust architecture. So zero trust isn't really about denying everyone access, but it's ensuring that everyone that's supposed to have access to what they need to do their job has the right access. When people have access to things that they don't need, that's when problems occur, because they're getting to things that doesn't help them do their job and they just get lost. It kind of like a roadblock. It just puts them in another area. Doing a zero trust architecture is kind of like from our old school IT is role-based access. You're controlling who has access to what and making sure they can get to what they need to. So if you're in HR, right? You have access to all the HR folders. Same thing with accounting. You have access to all the finance and accounting, so you can actually do your analysis. But as me, an IT person, I should not have access to HR. A lot of confidential information that's going through that. Those are things that we want to make sure that you understand. Zero trust is more or less making sure the right roles are presented to the right users. When that happens, it not only makes your business more secure, but also makes IT's job more repeatable. because everyone has a role, and when users are onboarded or offboarded, they're onboarded and offboarded to the right roles. Things will be done faster, people have the right access, you're reducing a lot of layers of risk. And overall, you're ensuring that even when they're remote, they know what they can get to and they will have the right access. So if someone does submit a ticket in, they can troubleshoot very quickly and easily. That's what zero trust architecture is proposed around, is really about making sure that you have all the right access for the right roles and the people. You don't go through and create like folders, and then you have the folders and you provide individual users access to those folders. That becomes very difficult to manage from an IT perspective, because now they have to remember what process and who has access to what folders. It's not just removing them from that specific role and then them losing access. You have to get granular and go down to every single folder and then remove their access. And then you have to remember, where did I give you access? So that's what we want to make sure you understand from a zero trust. It's about creating the right roles and groups and then managing it that way instead of at the very bottom of the layer.
Yeah, and it does help with the scope creep later on if somebody were to transition from HR to accounting. They don't keep all their HR roles, so very easy to click and remove.
And for the ones that, have compliance in their areas, that is a compliance area requirement of role-based access, ensuring that you are giving access to who needs access and not. So no local admins, administration accounts are segregated, separate from your daily driver account, and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're talking about a compliance. We're talking about cyber insurance. It's no longer check the box coverage across the board. Insurance companies are tired of paying out for incidents or breaches, so they're not accepting the risks. So they're going out to providers and making sure that you have a mature security program in place before they approve you. And the ones that you have now, they're going to start doing that before they renew your policies. You could get much higher premiums here in the future if you don't have certain controls in place. And the fact that you add the controls could actually save you more money in the future as well. So adopting controls for your security not only protects your organization, your brand, but it may actually offset any sort of future costs or current costs you may have with cyber insurance. You get stronger security, you get better terms. Weak security, it equals higher costs, exclusions, and possibly even denial. Insurers are asking for basic security controls. There's so many people that do not have, so many organizations don't have MFA. If you have MFA and if you're in the cloud, you must turn on MFA. It is a possibility to bypass MFA if not trained properly, but it is a first step that helps prevent an attacker from getting into your system or possibly just moving on to the next person that doesn't have it. They're looking for EDR. You might see that come up on a policy questionnaire, which is endpoint and detection response. That is your next-gen antivirus. It's not only looking for the signatures of things that already exist, but it's looking at behavioral analytics. So it's something that they're going to require in the future. Do you have backups? Not only do you have backups, do you test them on a regular basis? Because if you don't test your backups, you have no way of knowing that they're valid. Making sure that you have documented incident response plans and that you do enact them. You should practice your incident response plan. What's on your incident response plan? It should be your policy number. It should be your cyber incident response number to your insurance. They're going to be the first people that you want to call because they're going to tell you what you need to do. It's going to be the experts guiding you through the process. They may actually investigate the attack and determine who the attackers are, we never suggest that you pay a ransom. But if you feel you're required to pay the ransom, it might be against federal law to pay that. There may be sanctions against the country that committed the attack. So the IR team that the insurance company will bring in will know exactly who did the attack and determine where that attack came from. Then advise you on how to move forward.
I think the other thing to keep in mind too, Jason, as you're talking about EDR, right? The endpoint detection response is if you are not managing it, you need to understand your policy too to make sure your policy doesn't have it written there that it can't do auto remediation. Because if it does auto remediation, you could be denied claims if your insurance provider says they need the availability to actually do the analysis and investigation before remediation can happen.
Yes, and it's very tempting to just get back up and running. That's why they talk about being held hostage by insurance or law enforcement. There is a possibility of keeping the old data, but moving to a snapshot of a backup and moving forward. But again, that costs money. It's possible to have redundant systems to allow you to continue to function after an attack. But there is a lot of cost to that. It's almost double or triple the cost. So when we say proof matters, insurers are going to look for evidence that you have these controls in place. Much like any sort of framework where you have to adhere to HIPAA or you have to adhere to PCI, FINRA. CMMC is by far the most critical of your controls. You must meet 2 of 3 different requirements, either testing or policy or an interview of people actually using those controls. That is what qualifies as having a control in place. So, it's good to be prepared. You need to have these have the evidence in place in order to get fewer surprises at renewal. So, like I said, with compliance, that also comes with insurance. It's also being required from certain customers and partners. I spoke about CMC before. Government prime contractors are requiring their subs to be CMC as well, or else they're just going to find someone else that is. It's difficult to do, but if you want to continue providing business to these entities, you're going to have to put the controls in place and provide that evidence to auditors to continue business. Evidence is very critical, but it's very easy to go through a roadmap and collect on a regular basis. And it doesn't need to be one person. You can delegate those controls to the people that they're responsible for it in order to provide the evidence for you. So I believe we have another poll after this.
Yep, should be popping up soon.
How would you describe your current work environment?
Looks like mostly hybrid.
I feel like that's probably the case for most after post-COVID.
Yeah, looks like 50-50 now. Office-based hybrid. Nobody fully remote.
Nope. So when we talk about hybrid, it most likely have some sort of cloud or software as a service. And it's important to look at those security gaps that you're given. You are given security gaps when you get a software as a service. Microsoft 365, Google Workspace. The people that provide those tools are responsible for protecting the physical controls for the servers that maintain them. Everything that's critical to that infrastructure. But they basically hand the keys over to you, and it's your responsibility. So they have a shared responsibility of protecting the backend environment. You have a responsibility of giving access and configuring certain settings because they have no idea how your business works. So you want to go through and make sure that you go through and identify any sort of security gaps. There's plenty of tools out there. Microsoft 365 will actually suggest certain things that you can put in place to help mitigate a lot of those risks. Common problem is, each tool has different accounts, permissions, access paths. It's difficult to track who has access, what they can do, or when do they need it. Former employees, contractors, people with excessive admin permissions. A big help with that is employing SSO whenever you can, and then going back to those role-based access controls. You can apply certain permission sets to like a Salesforce, or we use like an IT glue for documentation. We can control who has access to what by that role. And then we have a central location for Microsoft that we can actually control access through there. If a person leaves, we can then shut that access off and they can't get to those ancillary systems unless it was re-enabled. That gives administrators enough time to go through and clear out those access controls later on. Misconfigurations definitely create exposure. Petco data exposure, Salesforce, those were huge weaknesses where there were overly broad permissions, disabled logging, things that just were not looked at whenever they implemented. Moltbot, or formerly Cloudbot, this is a big new toy that is being used in the AI world. People are implementing it, but not realizing what they've exposed to the internet.
And as we talked about, software as a service, there is also ransomware as a service. So, criminals are selling basically their own ransomware kits to people that are trying to build up their reputation. So we call them back in the day script kiddies, people that just utilize scripts that were already pre-built and just reuse them out in their own way. Like I said, for most people that are bad actors that are trying to start up, they don't care what they're doing harm-wise. Their goal is to build up their reputation. So it doesn't matter if you're small. It allows them to start building up reputation, to start doing any kind of damage to a business, because overall, it's not generally financial gain for them when it's small clients that they're attacking. It's all about reputation and increasing their name or their status out there in the dark web. So backups and monitoring are very critical for this. That's the biggest thing to really defeat a ransomware attack, is just ensuring that you have good backups, they're tested. And if it happens, you can go to a good backup and not worry about the ransom affecting your business. Yes, there are things that you do have to keep in mind, of like your cyber insurance, if you're making a claim, how you remediate, the way that you need to remediate to ensure that you get your claim. So we were talking about this a couple of days ago. It's like, it's almost, we think of back in the day, there were sweatshops to build things. Then there was Bitcoin mining shops to where they had a whole bunch of Bitcoin miners to build things. Now they're using AI stuff to kind of expedite how they want to attack. It's going to be a point to where ransomware as a service, then to AI as a service of attacks. There's data centers built around it, so you have to consider it's going to be damaging one way or the other. But you need to have security measures in place and train your users of what to look out for. Then we have another poll popping up. Which best describes your organization's incident response readiness. So you either have a documented incident response plan and you test it regularly, you have a plan but it has been tested recently. We rely on ad hoc response when something happens, not sure, unsure if a formal plan exists. So it looks like we have a couple that does have a plan tested regularly and a lot on the unsure if a formal plan exists. So if you're unsure if a formal plan exists, definitely get a meeting set up with us so we can go through and see what you have. We have templates to start you off with, and then we can work through on what you need to kind of build that incident response plan and then how you need to test it.
Yeah, and in testing, we'll start a conversation with the powers that be to determine, hey, maybe we didn't think about that. So the lessons learned you get from those tabletop exercises definitely are very valuable to do on a regular basis. So lastly, we'll talk about identity-bound authentication. It's in the past you had the perimeter inside the building, or you needed a VPN to access. Well, with cloud and security software as a service, it's all tied to your identity. Users connect from coffee shops, home networks. Andrew discussed this earlier. Airport devices, mobile phones. Location no longer equals trust. So your identity determines your access, and we don't protect our buildings anymore. We protect the logins. Today's attackers, they don't break in, they just log right in. Most modern attacks don't start with hacking anymore. They start with stolen usernames and passwords. They get the credentials from phishing emails, fake login pages, malware, data breaches, and password reuse. MFA is by far it's the seatbelt of cybersecurity. It doesn't stop the accidents, but it does save you when they happen. Modern security systems, they just don't ask for a password. They evaluate the full context of the login attempt, whether the device is healthy enough to connect, the operating system version. If it's not supported anymore, I shouldn't let it in anymore. Location and IP, time of day, and the behavior of that user. Access decisions are dynamic and not static. It's just not who are you, it's does this login make sense right now?
And on the MFA piece, we train our users if we understand MFA fatigue. If you get an MFA prompt and you didn't see a pop-up box that you're trying to enter your password or re-sign in or re-authenticate, teach your users just to hit deny. I mean, it's not that big of a deal if they deny it because it'll pop up on their computer or prompt somewhere that they need to do it again. That's safer than them going through and hitting approve because they think something's asking for access. That is most of the times how MFA tokens are copied, compromised.
Yeah, I believe we may have posted a video before about how easy that is, but there's several YouTube videos out there just showing how easy it is to replay tokens and get access to your software as a service apps. So, securing your business 2026. If one tool could stop everything, we'd all be using it, and no breaches wouldn't exist. No security tool blocks 100% of the threats. Every control has limits, whether it be technical, human, or operational. Firewalls, antivirus, MFA, training, backups all help, but they're not foolproof. There's no silver bullet. MFA can be bypassed with social engineering. Email filters can miss some phishing emails. EDRs may not catch 0 days. Users still make mistakes, and the attackers look for the small weaknesses. Attackers don't need every system to fail, just one. We talk about the Swiss cheese model because it works because most layers will overlap. When one control fails, another can stop the attack. The example of the layers would be MFA with conditional access, email filtering with user training, EDR with SOC monitoring, backups with incident response training. Least privilege with logging. Is this person trying to attempt to access something that they're not supposed to? And it's best when defense works best when controls support many smart barriers working together.
Yeah, overall, at High Touch here, we have over 40 years of trusted technology experience, with hands-on, people-focused, well over years of experience with the amount of people that we have. As a managed IT services company, we focus on the security threats coming around. We want to be able to train and educate your business and your users on how to effectively secure your business. So if you have questions, set up meetings with us. That's what we're here for. We want to be able to help, and we are here to help your business not only grow securely, but also maintain a secure, model. We want your maturity level to increase in the security side because it's everyone's job to be, security minded, security conscious. And so if you would be interested in a following meeting or even a risk assessment, we'll have a poll pop up here. If you do, just hit yes. If you don't know who to reach out to, if you don't have an account manager already, like I said, we hit yes, we'll reach out to you. Jason or I will get a meeting set up. We'll talk about it. We can run a security risk assessment. The security risk assessment will go through and for ones that don't know what their gaps or exposures are, we can give you an idea of what your gaps and exposures might be. All right. And then next slide we have is basically saving the date for our next webinar, March 24th.
The topic is TBD. I'm sure we will put that on the social media.
Yep. And I know we had a question earlier from Nikki. So the question was, if you use a catchword or catchphrase, what is the risk of AI recognizing and using it? If it's kept digitally, it's highly likely AI recognizing and using it. So one of the trends right now, if everyone's seen their social media, people have been posting like their ChatGPT prompt of, hey, ChatGPT, based off what you know about me, create an image of me about what I do for my job and stuff like that. So AI is making a lifelike image of what it knows about you. If your catchphrase is any of the information that it can find from you, it could utilize that in any of the images it creates. So it is very highly likely that AI can utilize or even broadcast it, and you're not even thinking about it.
Well, and I think you're referring to maybe the offline quarterly phrase. So if you're using that method, I would keep that analog, possibly on a notebook that you have somewhere. And it's not necessarily the password list that they used to give out in 2000, but you want to keep that catchphrase for any sort of like executive or financial decisions offline. If somebody forgets, I'm sure somebody within the organization could remember that, but try to keep that out of the digital realm.
Alrighty, I think that's all we have for questions, at least in the Q&A that I can see right now. So I think we're all good to wrap this up.
All right.
Great. Again, we thank you everyone for joining, participating. Like I said, if you have questions, we're here to answer it. If there are additional questions, or you're not comfortable asking the questions here, get a meeting with us and we'll go through the questions that you have and answer it to the best of our capabilities. So thank you again.
Yes. Thank you for joining us.